All right, and welcome in to the North Florida Prep Report here. Andrew Jute bringing you the action here today. Exciting is picture day here in North Florida, of course, for our Big Bend area teams and all the way out to the North Florida Panhandle. So basically, we want to give you a snapshot of what's up with the playoff rankings. New rankings coming out after Week 9 as we get ready to go into the Week 10 games. So we want to make sure we break it down to you. You get what's going on here and basically what has changed. Where is your team? That's what we want to get into today. So let's get it going. All right, let's start out in the rural classification here. Exciting things going on in the rural ball. Of course, with the recent changes here from the FHSAA, we will only get 16 teams in this A bracket, initially billed as 20 teams. So those will be the official state champions, and those are be our teams going forward here. So as you look at the numbers, we have a couple of things going forward here for your area teams. Madison coming in at 3, Cottondale at 6, Osceola, Chipley, Bluntstown, Holmes County, Franklin County, Jefferson County. If the playoffs started today, those teams would be in. And of course, in your big A bracket. So then you would bounce down and teams, what are the other teams? Are maybe fringe teams or on that second tier in the B bracket, which will not be officially recognized as state champ, but they will be going to the villages and they will play out their bracket here for those teams that are slotted 17 to 32. So teams in that category, we have Port St. Joe, we have Hamilton County, Sneads, Vernon, Liberty County, Weehawken. Fast forward and look at these brackets here. Look at the top dog, Union County, they're holding the line again. Jefferson, of course, for some reason, there's a misprint here on the brackets with Jefferson coming in at allegedly 26, but based on the power rankings, they're at 16. So we're going to seek out some clarification from the state here today, see if we can't get any answers. Update regarding Jefferson County. That's right, if you're a Tiger fan or a fan of those teams here in the rural classification, we had a little bit of a misconception here, so we reached out to the state and got some clarity. The rankings came out October 22nd, which was yesterday, depending on when you're watching this, and of course the usual Tuesday situation, but upon closer investigation of what's going on in the rural classification, Jefferson County, there's a mix-up in the numbers. The rating here has them at the 16th team in the state, but when you look over to the class rank, it says number 26. So we reached out to the state, tried to get an explanation because this is the third week in a row this has happened to Jefferson County. So we want to get the record straight, right? So it turns out that it's an issue with one of the organizations that reports to Max Preps, and so the number is correct. So the rating is correct, not the state rank. So Jefferson is not 26th in rural ball. Jefferson is 16th in rural ball. How this changes things. What does it do? Of course, that's the big number. If they were number 26, they would not be in the A bracket here for the rural classification. So Jefferson County is going to jump to 16th and should be 16th in your bracket, in your charts when you're looking at this. And that would give them a matchup if playoffs started today versus the number 1 overall seed, Union County. What it also does, the current 16 seed or the 16th state ranked team is Marathon. What this does is this actually bumps them out. They would not make the A bracket official playoffs here in the rural classification, and they would be participating in the B bracket. So this could be a factor for Jefferson County. Keep an eye on it as we go forward. But I have official written confirmation from the state that says that is a mistake. The rating is correct, not the class rank. So go by the rating. There you go. Jefferson should be 16th in your bracket. Playoffs started today. Jefferson is in. So go get them, Tigers. You are 16th, not 26th. Then you drop down to the 8-9 matchup. If playoffs started today, it would be a wild matchup. Osceola would host Chipley here, that 8-9 matchup. But things very delicate with these 8-0 teams here going forward. The value of that undefeated record on Osceola right now is very crucial for them to keep that hosting opportunity alive. Then you jump down to the 4-13. Jay would be hosting Williston. Jumping on down to the next one, Chiefland would be hosting Holmes County. So Holmes County jumping up here, little 12 seed coming in as they are this week with 2 weeks to go in the season. Then you look at that sweet 6-11 matchup. Cottondale will be hosting Bluntstown. Of course, Cottondale, another team in a delicate situation, holding on to that undefeated record. Jumping down, Madison County, despite the loss here to Florida High over the weekend, they will lock in their 3 seed. The metrics are really liking their strength of schedule, and that's why you see them locking in here to the upper crust, and they look really solid to host in the first and potentially the first couple of rounds. Here is Madison County. They'll be hosting Lafayette if the playoffs started today. So Lafayette in the mix here. Then you jump down to that 7-10. It's Pahokee who would host Fort White. And then, of course, Franklin County after the second loss here of the season to this past weekend, Port St. Joe, that they are now sliding down to the 15 seats. So we talk about those teams oftentimes could be very delicate balance going here with that undefeated record. Franklin County now dropping to is now in a little bit of a danger zone. They're a bubble team here in the A bracket. Slipping down into the B bracket, you can see the matchups. Some of our area teams to focus on. Sneads would be heading to Dixie County. Liberty would be heading to Branford. Vernon would be headed to Fort Meade. Port St. Joe would be hosting Weehawken. Hamilton County would be hosting Moorhaven. And then you can see the rest of them there. A couple bubble teams to keep in the mix. Marathon, Baker, Port St. Joe, Branford. Those are the teams that are going to be coming after Jefferson County and Franklin County that potentially could, if they jump up, bump those teams down into the B bracket going forward here. So that's kind of your rural classification picture. Let's jump on to a little more wildness here is the 1A classification here for the FHSA post week 9 ranks as of October 22nd. So going in here, you can see not any significant changes here. Providence still holding the line. Maclay still holding their 3. St. John Paul II, another big win this week. They're on a roll. They're looking pretty good. They took down big 4A Rickards here this past week, and they've bumped up into the 4 slot. So automatic berth for them, district championship, but not necessarily an automatic host. It'll really depend on how the other districts will come to play. Some of our area teams, NFC, they're sitting at the 10 seed. They're holding the line, and FAMU DRS down there in 13. So you look at the picture here, you feel good about Maclay and St. John Paul II with only 2 weeks to go and them both having a 10-plus point buffer on that 9th place team. But it really gets interesting if Trinity Catholic is able to play spoiler. Because you remember, in 1A through 7A, you have those automatic bids with the district championships. So think of it like March Madness. You could potentially get a bid steal, and you have a team like Trinity Catholic, a team like KIPP, who could force a wild 3-way tie in that Jacksonville district, jumping up into these top 8, which would really kind of shuffle the standings. So I think Maclay and St. John Paul II are safe enough where they don't get bumped out. But as far as the hosting, that's where the hosting probabilities get into the mix for Maclay. Because let's say Maclay is in that 3 seed and somebody like Episcopal jumps up with the automatic bid at the 6, of course, the default versus a district champion versus a non-district champion, the hosting duties would go to the champ. So something to keep on the periphery there. But for JP2 Maclay, you're looking good. NFC, an outside chance at it, cannot get the automatic bid with the district, and honestly, it's going to be pretty tough to get into the mix the way the metrics have been working, as they would basically need to close about an 8-point gap in 2 weeks, which would be very difficult. They would basically have to win out in order to do so, and they only have one more match to go here, so tough for them. Transition on out of 1A, let's go into 2A. Gadsden County still holding the line. They're the top dog here in Region 1, have actually jumped up and got the first overall classification ranking here in 2A. They're looking real good. Have not locked up their district. They still have 1 game to go against Taylor County, which they will play this week. But of course, they are still churning and rolling for them. Dangerous teams to look at: Bowles and Mariana already locking up the district. Florida High, Taylor County, our other area teams coming in at 5 and 6. You like them to get into the playoffs the way their schedule is going and how they are rolling. And Walton jumping up here to the 7 seed. Fringe teams, Freeport and Bozeman, making it interesting here in that 9-10 slot. The team to watch here is South Walton, who could still steal the district. Walton also in that situation as well. They could get in and still rip a district championship here, so that'll be an entertaining one to watch. Other area teams right now on the outside looking in, Rutherford and North Bay Haven would not be able to make it in. Rutherford still with the outside chance, only having to make up about 6 points coming forward here to slide into that 8 seed, but you got to be concerned about a potential bid steal. So they may need to, get all the way up to that 7 line in order to be safe, which would be an 11-point clip and would be very difficult to do here in the closing situations. So moving on from the 2A to the 3A classification as we keep things rolling. Brains Vikings still holding the line up top at 1. Our area team, Godby Cougars, Class 3A, they continue to succeed and have put together a really excellent season here to the Godby Cougars. Of course, they've locked up the district championship. Also sliding into the mix, Bay, currently sitting in at the 8 seed. They've also locked up a district champion. Some of the at-large teams, as things get a little more interesting, Wakulla still holding at that 5 seed, but a big 4 seed jump by Suwannee. An unexpected one to most here. The Dogs upset of Taylor County took them from the 11 to the 7. So, of course, they will have no shot at the automatic bid, so all their chips are in the at-large pot. So, huge jump for them. They did a great job of making the boost. And, of course, the strength of schedule. Obviously, the record gets helped out here with the big boost, but they still have some work to do because threatening in the mix here are some of these potential district champions. Parker and Yulee could play spoiler with the automatic bid and bump Suwannee down. Of course, Bay cannot be eliminated from the playoffs, so Bay could settle into an 8 seed, which would be tough because they could essentially win their district and end up playing Rains, which would be brutal, but nature of the beast here. Other area teams to keep an eye on, Bishop Kenny, of course, could still win that automatic district, so as far as the seedings go, that could be affected there, but you like Godby with their spread to be able to host potentially a Godby Suwannee rematch, which was a great game that they played up at Childs High School here in the first round of the playoffs. If it started today, that's how it would go down. But for our area teams here in the 3A classification, if it started today, all 4 of them are in. So really exciting here for the North Florida football squad. Let's keep it going. Switch over into 4A classification here. You can see, once again, similar to 3A, both of our area teams, Rickards and Arnold, would be in if the playoffs started today, both holding the line at the 6 and 7 seed right now. The dangerous one is Ed White, potential automatic bid there for the Commanders. They could end up stealing the district, which, if Rickards or Arnold slides one spot, could potentially bump them out. Also, teams in the mix here, Escambia and Pine Forest, that district still to be decided here. But of course, Choctaw and St. Augustine have locked up the district. I don't think that's going to make a difference because they're probably sitting at 1-2 as it would stand anyways. But just something to keep an eye on. Playoff started today. Rickards would be on the road to Escambia. Arnold would be on the road to Choctaw, which was a tough one and would be a rematch here of a game played earlier in the season. So one more classification to go. Let's get to it. That's at 5A. Of course, our big boys. We got 4 of them here. Mosley, Childs, Leon, Lincoln. Looking forward, Mosley has an opportunity to seal the deal and lock down the district, but they are still vulnerable. Of course, it'll be a battle of Dolphins. Gulf Breeze and Mosley going to go at it, and up chance to play spoiler for Gulf Breeze. They're one of those bid steals. Also, you talk about some teams to our east, Matanzas and Bellevue, also an opportunity still to capture their districts, which could really muddle the waters. So, looking at the automatic bids, Lincoln, our boys here from the Big Bend, lock it in. They've got a district championship, Fleming Island, out east in Jacksonville area. They've also locked up their district. So those 2 teams are in for real, for real. So you look at it, if playoffs started today, Mosley would host Mainland. Lincoln would host Fleming Island. That'd be a tough task in round 1 for the Lincoln Trojans, but you keep it on the road. Some of our bubble team, Matanzas, 9, Childs 10, Leon 13. So Leon's going to be a little tough. They've got about a 13, 14-point spread to make it up. Giles, though, looking a little difficult here last week. Still hanging around. You're still at that 8-point margin, which would be pretty difficult to make up that gap, especially with these potential bid steals sneaking in there. But the win last week really helped the cause. Of course, he being able to take down North Bay Haven earlier on that Thursday night game. So puts them in a pretty good position going forward to potentially go for, because they still have 2 games left. They're going to be tough. And if they could get the wins, they'd be big points. So a 4-6 Giles team would make it really interesting, especially if Middleburg or Mainland or one of these other teams towards that bottom really struggles down the stretch and the favorites kind of punch through. So that's kind of the beauty of the beast here in the playoff situation. So we know we still have this week, week 10. We know we still have week 11 to go here. And then, of course, we had the bonus week. So any teams potentially playing that Wednesday or Thursday, which would be the makeup, it looks like Suwannee, one of our area teams, will go ahead and play in that 3A classification. So talk about a team trying to sneak into the playoffs. They could be a dangerous one to watch. But of course, don't sleep on these bid bubble teams that we talked about. Could potentially steal one here for your area squads. But that's what we have going on here. The playoff picture going forward for the post week 9 rankings. More details to come on this and a more individual lock-in for your area team here coming up later in the week. But thank you for joining me, Andrew Jupe, here on the North Florida Prep Report. Be well. Update regarding Jefferson County. That's right. If you're a Tiger fan or a fan of those teams here in the rural classification, we had a little bit of a misconception here, so we reached out to the state and got some clarity. The rankings came out October 22nd, which was yesterday, depending on when you're watching this, and of course the usual Tuesday situation. But upon closer investigation of what's going on in the rural classification, Jefferson County, there's a mix-up in the numbers. The rating here has them at the 16th team in the state, but when you look over to the class rank, it says number 26. So we reached out to the state, tried to get an explanation, because this is the 3rd week in a row this has happened to Jefferson County. So we want to get the record straight, right? So it turns out that it's an issue with one of the organizations that reports to Max Preps. And so the number is correct. So the rating is correct, not the state rank. So Jefferson is not 26th in rural ball. Jefferson is 16th in rural ball. How this changes things. What does it do? Of course, that's the big number. If they were number 26, they would not be in the A bracket here for the rural classification. So Jefferson County is going to jump to 16th and should be 16th in your bracket, in your charts when you're looking at this. And that would give them a matchup if playoffs started today versus the number 1 overall seed, Union County. What it also does, the current 16 seed or the 16th state ranked team is Marathon. What this does is this actually bumps them out. They would not make the A bracket official playoffs here in the rural classification, and they would be participating in the B bracket. So this could be a factor for Jefferson County. Keep an eye on it as we go forward. But I have official written confirmation from the state that says that is a mistake. The rating is correct, not the class rank. So go by the rating. There you go. Jefferson should be 16th in your bracket. Playoffs started today. Jefferson is in. So go get them, Tigers. You are 16th, not 26th. Thanks again. Andrew Jupe from the North Florida Prep Report. Stay tuned for more playoff updates.